How do you understand a film like Annihilation? Its beautiful visuals and terrifying monsters certainly make for an exciting experience. However, this is not your average run-of-the-mill science fiction flick. Its slow pacing, 5 female protagonists, and a fairly inexplicable plot might turn a lot of audiences away. For me, however, I don't expect a film to explain anything. In my experience, good cinema shows and doesn't tell. There are many aspects of biology that are a complete mystery to humanity, and to explore these uncertainties and questions through art aids in furthering our understanding of reality. Of course, not all cinema has to strictly abide by the show and tell rule. However, Annihilation really is a unique case in many aspects. It had a limited showing in cinemas in the United States and Canada, with the rest of the world seeing it on Netflix weeks afterwards. From my perspective, the fact that so much of the story does remain a mystery is one of the film's greatest strengths. Like with Arrival, understanding an alien life form is going to take a lot of time and work. This story is different, however, in that time is running out. 3 years of wasted expeditions and the endless expansion of the Shimmer are enough to abandon reason and fight for survival. What this analysis aims to pose is that Annihilation has enough thought and care put into it to make a great piece of film without needing to get into specifics about how the alien functions. The film is based on a book, after all, wherein which you will probably find the answers to such queries. So, without further ado, let's explore what this film was trying to say, and how it does so without the use of words. There's some really nice uses of symbolism throughout the film that add extra layers of meaning to it as a whole. The small glass of water that we see numerous times throughout the film connects directly to the idea of the shimmer refracting light, as this same phenomena is happening in these shots. The skin we see through the glass is distorted to indicate that both Lena and Kane are infected and have been profoundly genetically altered. It was clever that they adopted this technique so early on in the film, where the audience is still under the impression that Kane has just simply returned from an emotionally damaging experience in the military. Another example of great symbolism is demonstrated by the tattoo on Lena's arm, which appears after she returns from the Shimmer. I definitely buy Alt-Shift-X's theory that it's representative of the human tendency to self-destruct, but I think it has a deeper meaning than that, and that it symbolizes eternity too. Earlier on in the film, Lena speaks with Kane about how aging is just a fault in our genes, so I'm of the belief that the film is trying to imply that she will live forever by giving her this specifically shaped tattoo. Because the tattoo was seen on Anya first, this also demonstrates that all of her colleagues that died inside the Shimmer are embodied within her. The design of the Shimmer is really quite something to behold. It's not only humongous, but I believe it was designed to mirror the appearance of oil when a thin layer of it resides in water, giving off these beautiful displays of, well, liquid rainbows, if you like. Now, this also ties into the narrative quite well too, as it certainly looks beautiful. I mean, why would anybody bother exploring the Shimmer if it didn't? And yet it ensnares us, traps us in there to be absorbed and make the Shimmer increase in size. Like the appearance of oil in a puddle, one appreciates the aesthetical quality but is simultaneously saddened by our dependence on burning the stuff to light our homes and run our cars. This design works to the promotional poster's advantage too, as it looks almost like a waterfall, another element of the natural world that looks wonderful but can be dangerous too. It's not just the visual effects that create some amazing imagery though. As is customary of Garland's work now, practical effects and design have a great deal of impact on the viewer. You have the beautifully constructed plant mutations growing on walls and out of people, one of which even seems to vaguely resemble the world map. The cinematography also differentiates between the world of everyday and the new world being created by the alien. The points in the film that aren't on a beach or in a woodland area are terrifically moody in their composition, reflecting Lena's depression and guilt. Garland calls this style suburbia to psychedelia, which I think is a pretty cool way of looking at it. The cinematography also grants us the ability to see huge expanses of wildlife whilst also showing us the most intimate and minute locations. One example that springs to mind is the placement of the camera inside the alligator's mouth. The behaviour of cancer is this film's bread and butter. For one thing, the life force, or alien if you like, is able to mutate and reconfigure life on Earth on a genetic level. We see several examples of this gene alteration occurring throughout the film: deers with plants for antlers, plants growing in the shape of human beings, and even sand being manipulated to have the genetic makeup of trees. This gives the alien a layer of mystery that makes it all the more terrifying to consider what power over life it can wield. Not only does the mystery provide ample room for terror, but it means that it has no wants or desires except to survive by any means necessary. The story is littered with examples of cancer being at the heart of the narrative. Firstly, when characters enter the Shimmer, they collectively experience memory loss, which just happens to be a side effect of cancer. Secondly, the characters are affected by it in some way in their personal lives. Cass's child died of leukemia, Ventress supposedly has or had cancer, and Lena is seen teaching about cancer cells to her students at the beginning of the film. Both soundtrack and score are not only praiseworthy, but seem to have a deep connection to the story too. Take the song Helplessly Hoping by Crosby, Stills and Nash that we hear as Kane returns to Lena. As he approaches the stairs, we hear the lyrics, "They are one person, they are two alone, they are three together." This not only displays how close these two lovers are, and also how it might not have been entirely perfect, but the song actually foreshadows the ending of the film. The one person refers to their shared sentience, the two alone part is fairly self-explanatory, but the three together part caught my attention most because of the uncertainty to their identities by the end of the film. Are there three beings shared between two bodies? Who knows? The music written by Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow contains some terrific pieces that challenge expectations and are written to connect humanity with the alien life form. When we see the alien crashing down to Earth, there is no orchestra playing a dramatic theme, but an acoustic guitar is heard playing a dreadfully solemn tune. The simplicity of the piece alludes to the idea that this is going to intrigue the mind more than stimulate it. The other noteworthy piece of the score plays just after Ventress regenerates into a mandelbulb. The song lacks any form of structure or form and is just so obscure in its composition that it not only fits well with seeing this huge floating anomaly, but also reflects this idea of the alien not having a physical presence whatsoever. In the final showdown between Lena and the creature trying to imitate her, I love that this dance takes place as the being slowly completes the process of transformation and creates a mirror image of Lena. The fluid movements between the two were indeed choreographed, and I thought it was interesting that Sonoya Mizuno, who previously played Kyoko in Ex Machina, has not only a cameo at the beginning of the film, but is actually the performer of this faceless green mannequin. Mizuno is herself a ballet dancer, which works to the performance's advantage too. The mirroring that takes place is seen not only here, but also in the mandelbulb that the creature evolved from. This fractal we see is a mathematical pattern that emerges in nature in a repeating and symmetrical manner. Another example of a fractal is the structure of a snowflake. Not only does the mandelbulb display these properties as a moving object, but the design of this room Lena finds herself in was designed in the same way, as it too repeats and is also symmetrical. The attention to detail in the set and visual designs is astounding to me, but I'm also fairly aware I'm probably butchering any attempt to explain what exactly the mandelbulb or a fractal is. Fortunately, however, I found a clip of Alex Garland trying to explain it for us. I can't say I completely understand it, but this is probably the best explanation you'll find for this particular example.
We wanted something that sort of made sense when you saw it, but at the same time didn't make sense. And there's some shapes in mathematics that are very interesting like that. So we looked and looked, and eventually we found an app, and the app constructed a three-dimensional version of a 2D mathematical conceit, which is a shape, the Mandelbrot set, which is a fractal shape, and the 3D version of it is a mandelbulb. And when you move that around, it moves in a way that feels organic, but is also mathematical and is hard or impossible really to predict in terms of its movements, and yet sort of makes sense whilst not making sense. So that was everything we wanted.
So you didn't hear it from me, guys. It makes sense, and it also doesn't make sense. Either way, it's fairly obvious that the notion of self-destruction is far more evident in this scene when Lena passes the grenade to the clone and deceitfully runs away. There's only so much to our behaviour that is predictable, and the alien couldn't quite manage to replicate her completely in time to destroy her. We saw with the bear having Cass's voice crying out from within that the alien is trying to absorb all elements that will ensure survival. In consuming humans, it believed that self-destruction was inherent to survival, as it is so common across our species. What's most interesting to me about this part, though, is that Lena was probably in such a dark place to begin with that her mind is probably in two places about continuing her existence by this point in the story. We see her own mental struggle displayed in this scene, one version who wants to do right by her dead husband, and the other that would rather just end her story on Earth there and then. What is then seen is a re-establishment of the equilibrium, but leaves a bitter punch to the gut because despite Lena believing she had eradicated the alien, both humans and the alien life form pay the price for their own survival instincts, that being that they are stuck together as one, in two bodies, but together they are three. Thanks for watching! I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, perhaps not quite as much as Ex Machina, but what did you guys think of this movie? I collaborated with another YouTube channel who make video essays and critiques like myself. The channel is FilmFix, and I did some voice work on their video on Ex Machina, the link to which is on the screen now. After that, you can check out my amazing Discord server where you can leave questions for me, as I'll be doing a Q&A at the end of the month. Link is in the description.